Hey everyone, welcome back. Gonna be a short video today. Kabaji here, just cleaning up the end of my first Headhunter run. So we'll do the score here, and then I got some thoughts. So I guess we can go ahead and
Nice to see you down
start
here
selling
in the hole.
things. Here's the team. Did well. Quite happy with what everything that happened here. So yeah, be a crab. Oh, not refit. Yeah, okay. So what's going on here is it should be scrapping the mechs themselves, the chassis, and then putting my parts into the bay. Yeah. Hello, Vulture, and all that cash. Into the Omnis, which should be worth a little bit more, yeah. Okay. Go through. Unfortunately, this is going to take a little bit to get all these sold up. Ooh, 450, like that. Unfortunately, these strike parts weren't worth nearly as much as I had hoped. I missed that they were not Omnis, despite being like clan tech oriented mechs. So they're not worth quite as much as I was hoping. Still, 135 is not bad for a single piece. Ended up with quite a few Shiltron parts. Did not realize that. Yeah, they are quite tasty in the shop. Yeah, those were definitely nice pickups there. And the Black Knights that we just got from that last mission, 400k a piece. Feels good, man. Good old Orion that I still have yet to field in this version of BattleTech. Going right to the graveyard. Then this thing, 1.5 million for this single piece of this gremlin. That was quite an incredible find. I don't think I picked that. I think it was a random roll. Some more Omni avatar pieces here. Definitely some nice pickups. You can see that ticker just climbing like crazy now. What I'd like to see, yep. Good old vultures. Wasn't able to finish off a second vulture for my unit. But we did get the Omni Warhammer, which did just fine. Especially considering I didn't ever find great weapons to refit it with. I mean, don't get me wrong, the double PPC Gauss did just fine, but certainly not in the range of what the actual Vulture performed with. And wow, yeah, stealth bombers for 1.2 million. Just that particular variant, okay. And there I get a, I don't know if you can see it, the achievement for a bunch of money in the bank. Didn't have that before. Getting down here to the end. I held on to this this Owen piece for so long. I had thoughts and potential impressions for what I could do with it, and it just never realized, and it just sat in the bay, costing me a relatively small amount of cash to hold on to. I'm not sad about that. Okay, then we need to go back to the store. Sell all of these. Really wish I could blanket sell everything, but just have to do. Good old rotary 5s do so much work. Hyper lasers are worth quite a bit. I think I picked one of them and the other was a random roll, so decent little cash there. Something to consider in future runs. As how well the hyper laser sells compared to, you know, random loot. Only ended up with 3 snub nose. One of my favorite weapon systems in the game, the snub nose CPC. It's really amazing how cheap the Advanced Optics Mark III is. It's such a key piece of kit. Well, I think to buy it from the shop tends to be pretty expensive still. Finally getting to some more of the, or done with the weapons, getting to the equipment now. Clan Endos certainly pulled their weight. Although I think I only ended up putting 2 or 3 of them on. I think I still had 2 or so in the bin. Because the price to put them in is like 100k, I think, to install the Clan Endo. And a nice little extra chunk of change here, these XLs. Yeah, 6 Exchanger Double Plus. I might as well mention this now. Like, I don't know how this run can compare to other runs because, I mean, this is the first one I've done. So I don't know how unlucky or lucky I was, but being able to field Exchanger Double Pluses in every single mech, it seemed like anytime I built a new mech, I always had an Exchanger Double Plus available, which is obviously very good. And given the fact that I didn't find any of the prototype VHS kits, was probably pretty key in keeping my heat situation under control over the course of the campaign. And honestly, the Predator situation, and they'll be later, the sensor trackers, I didn't have a whole lot of trouble in finding Predators or sensor trackers, especially once I got into 3 Skull missions, which, if you've watched my electronics package tutorial video, they are my top picks for their slots. So having what I consider to be the best sensor and FCS in the game, and have plenty of them and not have to really struggle to find them, pretty key, I think, as well. Yeah. None of those. Only one, apparently. Oh, I forgot. Wait, what? Okay, yeah. Only one of the actual separate DHS of those ended up in my holds. They're very hard to take without finding the kit itself, because of how rare the kit is. Unlike the traditional double heat sinks, which I prefer to have a little bit of a stockpile of, it's really hard to take the prototype singles without having a kit. Down to just the ammo here, which should be pretty small increases overall. Although those Infernos, I must have ended up with Infernos from, or not the Infernos, Arrow 4s near the end of the run, because for so long I only had a single ton of Arrow 4 ammo, and that's why I never got to use the Arrow 4 that I picked up. And by the time I had any sort of ammo, it was not the best weapon system for the job, in my opinion. So it didn't get included in anything. I do tend to be a bit of a pack rat with my ammo. I like having options just in case it's relevant, which is why I've got so many of these ammo bins just laying around. I'd rather keep the ammo and pay the, the small upkeep cost to haul it around, and then if I ever happen to end up with a gun that's relevant, to have the ammo available, than to try and wait for the gun to appear before I start hoarding ammo. I end up with all this. Okay, I think that's everything. Didn't have anything left. There's the score. 44,769,931 space bucks. Not bad for a first run, I have to say. Overall, despite how easy, relatively, of course, I mean, I still struggled and was concerned about winning at points, the actual run is, because I only ended up losing 2 mechs over the course of the run. One in, I think it was mission 2, and then the last one, mission 38, of course. So I ended up losing fewer mechs and fewer pilots than I was expecting for this run. That was sort of part of the reason why I initially set the mech parts for 3 in the rules. I was expecting to lose more and have larger struggles. Though I guess, to be fair, when I saw what I was facing in episode 38, I was not very confident that I was going to be able to escape with enough material, enough firepower to continue the run. So overall, I still think the challenge is kind of on a razor's edge here. Not just mentioning mechs and pilots, but I also lost very few weapons over the course of the run. Like, if I had lost much more than what I ended up losing, I would have been forced to field significantly less powerful units. When I was putting together the Hephaestus, my weapon situation was not good. Like, I didn't have a whole lot of things to choose from. So if I had been losing additional weapons previously, I either would have had to sacrifice picks on predators or sensor trackers or whatnot in order to pick up decent weapons, and that definitely would have made my run much more difficult. So I think that the difference between a run that is smooth sailing and complete disaster seems really thin overall. But I do think that makes for a pretty engaging experience for both myself as the player and then hopefully as for you as the viewer, which is a net positive, I think. But for my pilots in particular, I'm kind of surprised at how much XP they ended up with.
Yep.
You can see, I mean, some of these have XP to spend, but like Arclight's 9648 is not bad. A bunch of 8448s. Mahogany at 8848, 3 8s.
Skipper.
9668, like 8668, like, man, just the overall level of experience from my pilots is also more than I was expecting. I did end up tanking some escalations near the end, which may have contributed to that. But I feel like in my initial run, like my non-Headhunter gameplays, I was probably 120 missions in or so, or more, before I saw this level of pilot XP. Not on like the 8448, this is a little low, but like this, like the 9668 or the 888 with the 4, that level. definitely. I do think that the 3 mech parts probably is the right spot for the run. It was initially like one of my concerns going in was that it might be too easy with 3 parts, and it certainly does make it easier to get lucky on a chassis if you headshot it, or you know, both legs without trying for it. Which is how I got the Huron Warrior. I think it was like the first or second mission. I managed to salvage a full Huron Warrior. But there's enough variety and total chassis in the game to loot, and the timeline for the player to accumulate power is small enough that you're unlikely to be just swimming in mech parts for most of the run. Like you have too many choices that you have to make that you to just take mechs all the time. So I feel like making it harder to field new mechs increases the probability that the run ends before it really gets interesting, which isn't. I don't think that's all that fun for either myself, the player, or the viewer, right? So I don't know that there's any rule changes that necessarily need to be implemented off the bat, which was one of the concerns that I was going to have after I completed the run, was whether or not anything needed to be changed. And just my gut reaction is that it doesn't need to be, but perhaps you guys might have any thoughts or considerations on that front. Maybe you could toss your suggestions into the comment box down there. Speaking of, not related to the rule set, but I got more aggressive with my video editing as I continued through the run. Though I always tried to leave the combat portions, like the missions, the video sections, intact. So I only had a single episode where I actually had to edit the mission, like the combat portion, and that was because I ended up spending something like 10 minutes to search and find the last enemy. I didn't think that would be all that fun to watch. So in that particular episode, I forget what episode it was, like 20 something maybe. That was the only episode that actually had video cuts in the combat portion. Everything else, they were all completely straight through with no cuts. So I'm just curious what you guys think about the run. Do you feel like the videos, is there some sort of format that I need to change with the video? Is there something I should edit out maybe? Like the videos are too long. Should I be cutting the combats? Should I cut the loot screen? I mean, the way I've been handling the loot screen was I've been talking through my ideas and sort of how I'm arriving at my choice at each individual loot screen. But I could just do like a quick scan of the loot, like, a quick scroll through the loot, and then just jump and just immediately cut to what I've chosen instead of sitting there and talking through everything. On that side as well, is it possible that you guys might prefer to see the entire play? Because one of the things I did, like the pilots in particular, I didn't go through, like I didn't include in the each individual episode anytime I increased the pilot skill. I didn't think it was all that interesting, but maybe that's something that you'd rather see. I mean, if you take a look at my pilots, they're almost exclusively the recoil warlord and then the first level tactics skill for most of my pilots, and then occasionally there's like control burst on proton or the sensor lock for some of my VTOL pilots. And there was a few times when I just cleaned up some of the inventory. Not a lot, just sold like a few things to make ends meet or whatever. But yeah, so we did have, I forgot about this. We actually lost that pilot. But so yeah, any thoughts you guys have on the format of the run, or anything you'd any sort of feedback you have, I'd be absolutely happy to hear it. But thanks everybody for watching once again, and yeah, I shall see you next time.